And welcome everybody out to our 5th edition of the Game of the Month podcast type thing that we do here on this channel now. This is a community-driven thing where we vote on a game of the month, play through it, and then discuss about it. And maybe one of these months we'll actually get more people in here because me and Zachary are getting a little lonely.
You're very lonely.
But anyway, this month we are discussing Gears of War, the 360 title that basically defined an entire generation of gaming, Unreal Engine 3, and the brown, muddy look of the 360 PS3 era. Kinda. I don't know if we could directly blame it, but it definitely helped contribute to it. But anyway, Zachary, welcome. Thank you for being with us here once again on the Game of the Month scene. It's good to have you.
Oh, good to be here. Always a pleasure.
So when did you first play Gears of War?
About 2008. That's when I got my first 360.
Okay.
So not a launch title, but I got into it at about the time, a little bit before 3 came out.
2 or 3. Wasn't
2 or 3, somewhere around that.
2 was 2008.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah, 2.
So then, around when 2 came out.
Yeah, so 2 was 2008, and then I think 3 was 2011.
That sounds about right.
But yeah, so I picked this one up, I don't know, say about 2007 when I picked up my 360. My buddies had a 360, picked this one up at launch, so I got to play it around launch. Didn't really dive too much into it, though, since I didn't own the 360. But I did play some of the multiplayer and like maybe 1 or 2 levels in co-op back in at launch, but dove fully into it around 2007 and went to town on that game.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it, even though I I played the crap out of it, 100% at all the single player achievements, worked a crap ton on the multiplayer achievements, I never really appreciated this game back when the trilogy was new. Like Gears 1, 2, 3. Like I enjoyed them enough, but I never really appreciated them until just a couple years ago, actually. So the Ultimate Edition came out, I bought it, started playing through it, never really made it that far. And then I finally finished that playthrough. Like, the Ultimate Edition came out, 2013, 2014, 2015? I don't even remember, but it was
the Ultimate
a good
Edition
while ago.
On the X1?
Yeah.
That was about 2017.
2017?
I think so.
Okay. I thought it came out just before Gears 4. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm trying to place it, but
it doesn't really matter a whole lot, to be honest. But it was actually Gears 4 that made me appreciate this franchise a lot more and the original trilogy a lot more. Like, I played through Gears 4 co-op with a buddy, and it took us 4 years to beat it just because we're not regular with it. And so, I have a number of streams on my channel where we're playing through it in co-op, and they span this day 1 launch up until 4 years later. And it's I finally beat Gears 4.
Woo.
And
you know what's sad is I actually have a similar story. I got about 70% of the way through 4, and then I just didn't play it for 3 years. And then I looked at it as I was going through my games. So I was like, why haven't I finished that yet? And then I just sat down and finished it because I knew I had to.
Yep. But doing that co-op and then going back and finally finishing up the Ultimate Edition, it really made me appreciate this franchise a lot more. So I revisited 2 and 3, did another quick playthrough of 4 by myself, and then me and my buddy did a co-op of 5. And I really do appreciate this franchise a lot more than I did back in the day. While I thought they were enjoyable, I never really dug into the lore. I never really dug into the story as much as I really thought I would have. And there's so much more to this game than I think a lot of people really give it credit for. Because, you go online, people either love this game or they hate it. It's just a dude bro shooter, blah, 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 blah. And it's yeah, I agreed with that. Yeah, it's a dude bro shooter. And then, I actually paid attention. I was like, oh, there's quite a bit going on here. It's
yeah. And I don't think it's as much a dude bro shooter as people that don't like it might say it is, because it's one of those, like, on the surface, yes,
Yep.
it might be a dude bro shooter, but
Yeah, it is.
there's a surprising amount of lore behind it and world building that
Oh yeah,
makes it more than that.
so
And
much, like
also,
so much.
yeah, and also the gameplay mechanics I think are very unique. So yeah, I don't agree with that sentiment. Like,
I
yeah, on the surface,
I don't
but on
either
the surface,
anymore.
yeah, on the surface, everything is face value.
Yeah,
You know?
all Sony exclusives are Uncharted. What?
Yeah, yeah. It's like
No, they're
maybe on the
not.
surface, but no,
No, they're
yeah,
not. They may
yeah,
all be the same third person engine, but like they play differently.
yeah,
But going into what you said about the mechanics, one of the funny stories that I think is great about the development of Gears of War is they were trying to mimic the control scheme from Resident Evil 4, but make it better for this type of genre, obviously. And then when Resident Evil 5 came out, they were copying Gears of War's control scheme. So I think it's just kind of a little fun full circle moment there.
yeah,
But I think one of the coolest stories that is attached to Gears of War 1, back when it launched on the 360, is the fact that they got this game, and this game is responsible for every Xbox 360 having 512 megabytes of RAM instead of 256. And that decision alone, I think, really is what made the 360 the beast of a console it was back in the day. Like, whether you're a PS3 or 360 fan, doesn't matter. Like, that was just, it added to the longevity of that console. It made it so many more things were capable on that console, made it so the multiplats were typically better on that console. Like, that's one of the reasons. Like, just the Xbox, Gears of War.
Yeah, the 360 almost pulled an N64 with a stupidly small amount of cash. It's like, no. Man. And it needed it, because we're experiencing the joys of it, because the 360 had a very long life, and even now, like, it doesn't get any new games, obviously, but 360 games still look really good.
Yeah, they hold up really well. And I mean, like, can you imagine if that system had only had 256 megs of RAM? Like, it would not have been it wouldn't have had the longevity it would have had. The PS3 having its two pools of 256 megs of RAM would have made everything seem a lot better on that system instead of the reverse for the multiplats like we got. Like, it's fascinating. Like, oh man, now I just can't stop fantasizing if the PS3 had 512 megabytes of unified RAM instead of a split pool. Like, an
alternate history,
alternate timelines. Like, it would have been so good. So good.
Yeah, but at least the Xbox 360 got it, though.
It did get it, and that unified RAM pool was a big deal.
Yeah.
But that's all due to Gears. And then Gears was also the showpiece for Unreal Engine 3. So, like, that defined, like, it doesn't seem as relevant today as it used to, but, like, Unreal Engine was, like, the big deal back in the day. Like, you got Unreal Tournament 1 and Unreal 2, and it's like, okay, these are, like, this is Unreal, this is what Unreal Engine brings to your games. Then they come out with Unreal Engine 2, so you have Unreal Tournament 2003, 2004, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at this, look at these graphics. And then Unreal Engine 3 with Gears of War, it's like, bam, here it is. And then Unreal Tournament 3 followed after, and it was just this showpiece. And again, that's where kind of the gritty look of Gears kind of like overtook a few things, in my opinion. Like, Unreal Tournament 3 looked like Gears of War instead of Unreal Tournament. So
yeah, it's kind of like all games in Unreal have the same lighting engine.
Yeah, all Unreal Engine games for that gen, like, oops, I think I just, no, I didn't. Okay, good. It's like, that was a very brown generation trying to be really gritty looking, but like, they're not, a lot of those games aren't too pretty to look back on. But yeah, Unreal Engine 3, that was a thing.
Yeah. I think Gears 5 pulls it off pretty good, though, because the way it tells its story, it's mature in a sense. It's like, it's not a war as a glorified thing, kind of like when you're, Master Chief charging aliens. I keep saying Halo. I have to. I get paid for it.
That's what's funny though, is like Halo doesn't sugarcoat it either, but when you're just a super soldier like that, it's like, we don't understand the stakes.
Yeah, but yeah, like Gears of War, it told a gritty story, and that's a simple thing to say, but it didn't just tell a gritty story where, because that's where other games, that's all they did and they stopped. Like Gears had the lore to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's inspiration from, like Rome and all the bronze. And it's a world that is well set up to be kind of grim and not very cheerful.
Mm-hmm. And then the backstory behind everything too. Like you don't even see the backstory from where you're starting in Gears. Like you start off Gears, you're just in prison. You're like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, and then, that's how you write good backstory, is you don't start with the backstory.
Yeah, and then as it gets explored throughout the lore, like it's just insane.
Yeah, and like the COG government, they're not good.
No, not so much.
They're very not good.
Not so much.
Yeah.
But oh man, like by mid of chapter 2, like you're learning about how like they use their super weapon against their own population to try to deal with the locust outbreak and all that.
Yeah,
like it's nuts. It's nuts. Like it's so nuts. I was kind of no, I can't remember which one came out first. Doesn't matter, I guess. But like it just made me think of Ace Combat Zero, because in that game they nuke their own cities on the border of their country to prevent advancing forces. So like, it was intense stuff. But reminiscent of that.
Casualties expendable.
Oh yeah. But not in Gears 1, but in Gears 2, you actually go through one of the cities that got Hammer of Dawn, and there's all the bodies of the people that were hit by the beam, and they're like basically just stone frozen statues or whatnot.
Yeah.
And, like if you touch them, they crumble to dust. So it's like, don't touch them. Like respect the dead.
Yeah.
And, like that was actually an achievement for that game.
Yeah, and one of the multiplayer maps was set in that kind of city too, and it's like kind of weird having this big epic battle, but then there's these, remains. It's like you really are fighting in a graveyard. It's not pleasant.
But yeah, anyway, back on to the first one though. Like that opening sequence where you're coming out of the prison, you could do the tutorial, learn how to do the mechanics, or just go right on out and get to the chopper and all that. Get to the chopper. Like that was a good introduction to that level. Like you knew you were in for some action, you're in for some good combat, and the cover system was just top notch at the time. Like this was the best there was back when it came out. Like I played a lot of Kill Switch by Namco, Bandai Namco now. And that was like a third-person cover shooter that I thought was really well done back in the day. And then it's like Gears of War came out. I was like, oh, this just takes it to a whole new level. Holy cow.
Yeah, I think what makes Gears so good about it is a lot of cover shooters tend to play more like Call of Duty, but with cover. But the speed doesn't really jive with that. I think what makes Gears cover system really good is that it is actual urban combat. You're not hiking miles. You're not going far. Like a lot of those encounters, like a city block or two.
Yeah.
And you're just like going from building to building. It's like, I think that's why its cover system really works, is engagements aren't long ranged and the cover is strategically placed. So it really encourages not only flanking, but making sure you don't get flanked yourself.
Yep.
Because like in the first level, one of the big hard sections is just a water fountain, and you have to go around it, because you're getting ambushed everywhere, but you don't actually go anywhere. So yeah, I think that's why its cover system really works, because it wasn't just a cheap gimmick of you can take cover in real life. Well, now you can take cover in the game. Come buy our game with its revolutionary new mechanics. Like the game was the cover mechanics, and it didn't try to fluff around that.
Yep. And then there was also like active reload things that made it so your bullets did more damage. Just like fun little arcade touches like that really spoke to me. then and now.
That, I didn't actually notice it until I did the replay, but if you shoot a wall, it has a little bullet decal, but if you shoot a wall with a bullet that had the active reload, it actually glows like it was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that detail until I replayed it, but that was really cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of attention to detail put into the first Gears, and considering how early of a gen, how early gen it was, it's amazing what it pulled off. There's aspects of that game that look better now than even the Ultimate Edition. You'll see arguments online being like, this looked better in this version, this looked better in this version. I think either version is really good to experience on modern Xbox because the first Gears is, I believe, 4K patched and FPS boosted on Series X and S. So you can play through at 4K 60.
Yeah, I played the 360 version on my Xbox Series X. So
nice.
It ran very smooth and it looked very pretty, though the character models are kind of ugly, if I'm honest. What's her name? Anna came out of the helicopter and was like, ugh.
Character models.
To be an attractive lady.
Oh, man. Character models for Gears 1. Again, that's where a lot of the dude bro comments come from, just because of how blocky and meatheady the characters look, for sure.
Yeah.
And it does look like a bunch of meatheads, but again, there's just so much more going on to this game than just the character aesthetics, honestly. Don't judge it based on that alone. You'll be disappointed.
Yeah. And it kind of also helps with the setting. It's like, who could survive in this kind of war, in this kind of climate, and not come out a total basket case? Some dude bro hyped up on protein.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Models definitely wouldn't hold up on the 360 version, but I mean, they look pretty decent on Ultimate.
Yeah, they're good enough.
Yeah, it gets the job done.
Yeah, I think I played the first mission in both editions, and I didn't get very far in the new edition, so I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I think I'd have to prefer the 360 version because in my opinion, the Ultimate Edition tries too hard to be cinematic. So watching the same cutscene side by side, there are so many epic camera changes and zooms. I don't know. I felt like it was trying too hard to be epic when Gears of War, it's not epic like that. It's epic in how, I don't know how to word it, but it told a basic story. And that's what made me really like it. I didn't like it with all the weird camera changes and zooms.
I haven't played the 360 version recently enough to really comment on that, but I'll just I played through this one on Insanity most recently, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun. Yeah. Yeah, if I don't think it's a big issue. If you prefer the new version, by all means, I don't, like I said, I'm not a fan of games trying to be epic or you can't force the epic.
So what you're saying is we're doing COD next month so you can rip apart its entire design structure for how it does its campaigns?
I don't even know. I refuse.
No. You can play COD 2. You can play Call of Duty 2. Call of Duty 2 is good.
Okay.
Anything post Modern Warfare we can just ignore.
Yeah, let's do Ghosts. Everyone liked that one, right?
I actually really did enjoy the campaign for Ghosts.
Yeah, it was all right.
I thought it was one of the better COD campaigns. I'm sad it didn't get a sequel.
Ooh, damn, hot take.
Yeah, hot take. I like the campaign for COD Ghosts. I like the characters. I like the world building. I thought it was great. That mission where you're getting flooded out into the streets, it was hilarious stuff. And the dog, come on. It was good stuff.
The
dog was good stuff. Just because multiplayer sucked, the rest of the game was dragged down with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gears.
Gears. Yeah.
All right, so comments on the timestamp for that COD moment there. Anyway. So I like the pacing of Gears 1, 2. I like the pacing of Gears of War
as well.
Yes. So, I mean, you start off, you're getting out of prison, getting reacquainted with everything. You get rejoined with a squad. You're trying to complete a mission of delivering the light mass bomb into the hive. And that's the entire premise of all of Gears 1. It's all the same one mission, just trying to get this bomb placed in the hive to try to win the war. Like, that's the entirety of the game, and it's just you going about trying to make that happen.
Yeah.
It's like you got to find the map of the tunnels.
It's all one campaign level, just broken up into different segments.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's one mission. That's one thing I really like about Gears 1's structure. And just all the different things that happen along the way. Like, you meet Rom, you meet Kim, you meet... what was it? Shoot, why did I forget his name?
Baird?
No, the running joke of the people they kill.
Oh, Carmine.
Carmine, there it is, yes.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's either Carmine or Carmine. But yeah, it's the Carmine.
The Carmine brothers. So you meet the first one that gets killed, and like everything falls apart by the end of that first chapter. Like you lose your CO, like everyone's just like falling apart, and it's like, oh well, crap.
Yeah. Also, kind of like the grim dark story.
It's all falling apart by the end of the first chapter. It's so good. And so then it's like the rest of the game is just you scrambling to try to complete the mission with virtually nothing. It's like, okay, well, we'll combine these two squads into one, and you just got to go and do it. We're going to make you the leader now because why not?
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing that's hilarious.
At that point,
okay,
the only thing that matters is the light mass bomb gets detonated. Whatever it takes to do it, just make it happen.
And like, just like chapter 1's everything falling apart. Chapter 2's you trying to regroup and use the resources available to you, like the Stranded. That's when you meet the Stranded. You go through the Stranded communities. You learn a little bit more about Dom's wife being gone. And then just all the interesting combat scenarios that happen. And then the introduction of more advanced enemies throughout the game is also very well done. So like chapter 2, you meet the Boomers. Chapter 3, you get the Wraiths. They were called Wraiths, right? I think so.
I don't remember.
And I think that the progression is just really well done. And then Krill, of course, the Krill when it comes into the second level or second chapter in the nighttime segments where you had to shoot the propane tanks and all that to light up the area so the Krill don't come and eat you. Like,
it also has that awkward vehicle segment.
Yeah, the vehicle segment, the highway segment at the end of chapter 2 there, that was fascinating. You had to use the flashlight to get the Krill off of you at times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man, that's a dark world. I would not want to live there.
No, like it really is. Like that's the whole thing. And like the whole approach that the Hive take is like they burrow under you and open up a giant hole to come and attack you from anywhere. So the only places that were safe were bedrock, like pure bedrock cities, Jacinto. Like that was the whole point. Yeah. And that is what plays into Gears 2.
Great, lore mechanic or a lore for a game mechanic. Like, why do the locusts suddenly spawn behind you? The pits in the ground that they dug.
Yep.
Right? And why do they keep respawning? The pits that they dug around you. It's like it's a very good lore reason for a very gamey thing.
Yep. And I mean, if you're quick enough, you could get the grenade into the hole before they even come out of it to stop them from spawning. Like, it was good design. It was very well made. Like, so cool. So cool. Such a cool mechanic. And then you finally go underground and you meet the Theron Guard. Like, again, progression was just so well done.
Yeah.
So well done. And then even the final boss fight was like, oh, geez, here we are. Like, this is insane. And I'm not gonna lie, I cheesed him on my last playthrough on Insanity. I couldn't beat him, legit. So I was like, screw it, I just want to be done with this. I cheesed him real good.
Legitimate strategy.
It's a legitimate strategy.
Yeah. And the weapon sandbox is also really good at complementing the mechanics of the game.
And the lore. And the
lore. Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people look at Gears of War, they think of the Lancer, and it's a machine gun with a chainsaw at the end, and like, what nonsense is this? Like, why is this a thing? It's like, well, there's actually a lore reason why that weapon exists, and it's because locust hide is so tough, it can't be pierced with a normal knife. So they designed a chainsaw bayonet that could chop off their skin and kill them if they charged you. And it's like, okay, sure, why not? Like, it's absurd and over the top, but they put a valid reason for it to exist in the game. And okay, let's go with it. Why not? Like, it's cool.
I mean, you've gone along with Dude Bros. You've gone along with Giant Spiders. I tell you, though, the worst job in the Gears of War world is being a helicopter pilot.
Oh, yeah, they're all dead.
Name one
they're all dead.
They're all dead. Campaign that didn't crash.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
You couldn't get me in one of those things no matter what.
Oh, man, they're all dead. Poor King Ravens. They're all dead.
Yeah, all dead. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and they also have good chemistry. Not just with each other, but how, like, for you, the player, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Cole, everyone loves Cole. Let's be honest.
Whoa!
The Cole train runs on whole grain. But, you know, it's not even just because he's silly, but in this very dark world, he is a light of humor. You know, he
keeps positivity. He tries to keep positivity, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you have Baird the Cynic.
Yeah.
And then Dom is just kind of a realist.
He's kind of your wingman. He's kind of a mirror for Marcus to reflect off of.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still a realist, but he's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, here we go.
Like, what's the worst that happens? We die.
Yeah, like, he's ready to go. Like,
yeah.
He has all of his own crap going on still, like, but he's still there. Like, he's still there and he's still present.
Yeah.
And then his story gets really insane as the series goes on as well. If you haven't played Gears of War 2 and 3, like, oh man, definitely do it.
Yeah, when the prison door opened and there was Dom, like, I felt a pain in my heart. It's like, oh, poor sweet innocent Dom.
I know, right? Yeah.
Is this what you wanted? It's like, no.
And then then Marcus, of course, he plays Marcus Phoenix, voiced by John DiMaggio. Love his range on the characters he portrays, man. Like,
he is really good. You wouldn't know
so
he
good.
voices the same, you know, like this character, that character.
I didn't even realize all the different people he voiced back when I first started realizing who he was. Like, I had seen so much of his stuff, and I couldn't have told you it was him. And then, like, Gears of War is what put him on my radar after Futurama, of course.
Yeah.
But, I knew he was Bender.
Yeah.
When I played Gears of War, I didn't realize he was so many other people.
He's also Jake the dog.
Yeah, he is. I didn't realize how many other shows I watched that he was in, but like, he brings an entire personality to Marcus. Like, that is just its own thing compared to all of his other roles too. Like, that's what makes him so good for that role. And I'm glad that they've kept him on after Epic sold the franchise to Microsoft, because he's definitely just that grounding presence, and they've kept him relevant to the story. Like, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
But like, he's hardened after all the things that have happened to him, but he's still like hopeful. He still wants to succeed. Like, he wants to get it done. And it's a like decent character.
Yeah, he's like the right mix of a pessimist, right?
Yeah.
You know, like,
he's not as hardcore as Baird.
Yeah. I mean, I think Baird is just cynical.
Yeah. Baird is I love how much he makes fun of Baird.
Yeah. And like, kind of thinking about it, you could say that all the characters are kind of alternate personalities that make up Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah.
He's hopeful, he's a little cynical, he's, you know, a little realist, and
it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, that's just a stretch, of course, but it's really good because there's, like you said, there's so much hidden character in him. Oh, because again, if you look at the surface, he's just kind of like, let's get this over with. But when you kind of see his interactions with other characters, there is a character under that gruffness. He's not shallow. He's just reserved. He doesn't want to put himself out there. So he'll say just enough to get the job going.
Yep. And that's one of the things I didn't appreciate about the game the first time around. Like, I played it a whole bunch and just never really dove into it. But it's like, when you actually take the time and actually listen and pay attention, it's like, oh, well, crap, there we go.
Yeah. And also like show don't tell when he's I forgot her name. I'm ashamed of myself. But the intel chick, when she comes out of the helicopter, he kind of looks at her, but then he turns away, and you get that little hint of like, yeah, he thinks she's cute, but he's professional. He's not.
There's also a story there.
Yeah, there's story there. And again, like I said, show don't tell. He didn't turn to Dom. It's like, whoa, dude, she's hot. Like, it's just kind of like a little look and then a look away when he feels a little embarrassed by it.
Yeah, there actually is a backstory there that's part of that too. That
gets revealed. I didn't read much. I didn't read the extended lore, so I don't know.
It's part of stuff that you get in some of the. I believe you get some collectibles in the Ultimate Edition that cover that. I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
Good world building, though, like in the background.
Yeah, it's subtle things like that can get tied into later that are really cool. Like they existed in the first place that they could be called back upon instead of it being added in post-launch and being like, okay, that's weird. That wasn't in the game at all. But like it's little nuances like that where it's like, oh, okay. Like that was there from the get-go. Like that's cool. So I don't know. The writing is well done. The gameplay is well done. And the graphics are well done. You might not like the way they are done, but they are well done especially for the time period. Like Gears was the true start of the HD gen for a lot of people. Like the 360 had been out for like a year at this point. The PS3 was just coming out and like nothing looked as good as Gears did. Nothing looked that good.
Yeah. And it literally did jumpstart to HD. Because with that extra memory, we already discussed,
tie right back into that.
Yeah. So and they used it to good effect. But on top of the single player, because we've gushed about the story, but the multiplayer I would say is just as good. Like there's a lot of like the different game modes, especially the second one. But
the second one had a ton of game modes, but. Fun story about Gears 1's multiplayer. Mm-hmm. It was the only game that released that dethroned Halo 2 from the most played Xbox Live game.
Nice. So I didn't know that.
Halo 2 was the most played Xbox Live game since it came out until like Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 1, essentially. Mm-hmm. Maybe COD 2 was up there with it, but I don't believe it passed it, if I remember the article. But like Gears came out and it surpassed Halo 2 as the most online played Xbox Live game.
Yeah.
For a while there. So like it made an impression. I didn't get into the multiplayer as much with Gears. It just became Gnashers of War and I got kind of sick of it. But
maybe I had a different experience because I actually just I guess a little honesty. I've actually never played Gears of War 1 online. I actually played Gears of War 2 with bots, and then I played Gears of War 3 online. So that's pretty much my multiplayer experience for Gears. So
yeah, the first one became Gnashers of War, and it was really irritating.
That's unfortunate. Still, though, when it works, it works. At its core, I think it's really solid because the multiplayer is just a natural extension of the same cover mechanic, of the single player, which is a sign of a really good multiplayer when it's just an extension of the same idea. It's not multiplayer awkwardly tacked on to something.
Yeah. And I appreciated that a majority of the maps were pretty symmetrical just to keep it really competitive. So I always appreciate a good.
Was superb.
I always appreciate a good symmetry on my multiplayer maps for those types of deathmatch games.
Yeah, and I have to give a lot of credit there because while a lot of other games will have like maps I like but maps I loathe, Gears of War might have maps that I love, but on the low end of that, it's maps that I like, and that's an accomplishment. When like all the maps are good in one way or another.
Yeah, and then you have Halo Infinite where you just don't want to play on any of those maps. Wait, what?
What? That implies you're playing Halo Infinite, though.
I loaded it up for the first time in a year, and I was still disappointed.
Yeah, it's no bueno. But yeah, and the way the multiplayer is structured for Gears is it does round-based multiplayer very well. And I think it did it before it became a cliche where everything needed that arena.
True.
Yeah,
True.
like 'cause every game recently has that awkward one life, like small team mode that seems to be mandatory. But dare I say, Gears of War did it before it was cool.
Yeah,
And
they were
I think it did it, and it's very natural for it because Gears of War, because it's cover based, you can't really afford to have opponents spawning behind you when you strategically position yourselves.
Yeah, I think the
So
round
it's
base
very
worked really
good
well
for
for
that.
Gears. I agree.
Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
really good for you make a plan, you know what your allies are doing. Even if you don't talk, you kind of see where everyone's going, and you know what you should do based off that.
You cover for them, yeah.
You cover for them, yeah. And even if you get totally swamped, say you didn't understand what a teammate was doing or the other team just played really well, the next round comes along and you can try to fix that.
Oh, yeah.
You can try to cover your teammates better. You can try to pick off the guy on the other team that ran for the sniper rifle, which made him lethal. It does map control very well because
yes, it does.
It is cover based. It is literally the map.
Yeah, and finding those areas where you can flank or other things like that, definitely, for sure. Like the tactics that could get into that if you had two like really strategic teams, like
yeah,
that was when it was at peak for sure.
Yeah, and it was also very well designed for the loadout of a lancer and a shotgun, because like starting with a shotgun might sound like total BS, but it works because in order to use the shotgun effectively, you have to jump out of your cover towards an enemy, and that either means you have to make a bold charge as you're being shot at, or the enemy opened up their flank and just let you in the back door.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, granted, like I said, I didn't play the first one.
Nashers of
But
War.
just because a meta strategy came out, it doesn't mean that the underlining tactics aren't there.
Yep, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I would definitely say the later entries got the multiplayer nailed down a little bit more correctly. And then they also, of course, added in horde mode and things like that, that the first one didn't have. But
yeah,
like what it did have was fun. And then also the co-op campaign being a thing was just top notch. Like playing through this game full split screen or online co-op is like, it can't be understated how good that is.
Gears also had the rare feature of variable difficulties. So if you had a player that's really good at the game and a player that's never played before, they could actually play at a legendary difficulty and an easy difficulty respectively.
Yes. Was that implemented in the first one? I'm
not sure if it was in the first one, but I know
it's on 2. I know it's on 2 and on. I can't remember if that was on the original 360 first one, because I think they have it in the Ultimate Edition as well. But yes, that was definitely a thing, and you could use it to cheese some of the difficulty achievements, unfortunately. But there it was. But going off of that, another thing that I really liked about Gears as a franchise as a whole is the censorship options they also give you too. Like, it's a very mature game. You got a lot of cussing, you've got a lot of blood and gore, like you're cutting things in half and blood's spewing everywhere and it's going all over the place. And while it's fun and cool to look at, you might have small kids, you don't want to see that stuff. So they have the option to turn off the cussing, they have the option to turn off the blood and gore. And it kind of leaves less of an impact, like when you're shooting things and not seeing like the massive amounts of blood spurting out, letting you know you're really hitting them. But
at that point, though,
but
you know what you're getting into.
It's really cool that those options exist, because it basically turns this hardcore M-rated game into a T-rated game that I don't mind playing around my kids, and so it's something I've always appreciated about the franchise as a whole.
And it's actually also specifically good for me, because if it didn't have that option, I would have never played it, because I actually don't like that gore. I like blood. I don't know. It just kind of makes me a little woozy. So
no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
See,
so
options are not a bad thing.
So if it didn't have it, I would have never played it. So it's already made at least one fan here just because it has that option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna look at it right now. Extreme content? Nope, I have my extreme content on right now. Never mind.
Whatever. I mean, to each their own. But yeah,
I have it on right now. I haven't played around the kids. 4 and 5 are definitely off right now since I played those ones around the kids. But yeah, like I've always appreciated that about this franchise, and that was there since day one. Like you could turn off the blood, you could turn off the cussing, like because. I was still living at home when that first game came out, and if my dad saw any of that stuff, he's freaking out all over the place too. So it's like, all right, he's home, turn all that stuff off. Okay, he left, turn it all back on.
Yeah,
oh,
it worked,
man.
It worked.
It works. Like it was weird, but it works. Like it's hard to think about this game being 16 years old now. Like it's so nuts. Like this game came out like. Right there, when I first got out of high school, started college. I started college a little late because of my shoulder injury. So, I mean, I had to get this all repaired. So, like, all of 2005, I was kind of laid up. And so then I was starting college in 2006. And it's like that whole time right after I finished high school kind of feels like everything was on pause because of this. But then getting back into everything and then this coming out, I was like, oh, man, yeah. It was interesting times, very interesting times for sure.
Yeah,
but like I kind of feel bad I didn't appreciate this game as much when it first came out, when the whole trilogy was happening. Like to this day, I still haven't replayed Gears 3 as much as I want to really understand everything that's going on in that game. But I remember when it first came out. Like, I ran through it, didn't pay, like, hardly any attention to anything that was going on. And it's like, that is such a disservice to that game. And, it applies to the whole thing. Like, it's a disservice. And so, like, I was glad that I finally played through 4. And that made me want to replay the whole franchise. And it's like, okay, yes, I can finally understand why my friend thinks this franchise is one of the best things. Like, I can finally understand that. I can see what he saw in it from the get-go that I missed because I was too obsessed with Halo and Ace Combat and Metal Gear. Like, okay, I get it now. Like, I finally get it. It took a few years, but I finally get it. And I'm happy I did because it's good. Like, it is good. Yeah. Like, I always thought it was fun. I always thought it had good mechanics, but I never would have thought it was great. Like, it was always like, yeah, this is good. It's not great. It's not amazing. Like, it's good. But now it's like, nah, this is a great franchise. This is an amazing franchise. Like, it has amazing entries. It has great entries. And then, like, yeah, it deserves the praise that it's got. Like, it is not overhyped in the slightest to me anymore. Like, I used to think it was a little overhyped, but now it's like, nah.
Yeah, it
deserves it. I'm looking forward to when they finally show off something for Gears 6. Like, the way Gears 5 ended, like, oh, where are they taking this from here? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And thank goodness the Coalition isn't some crap show company like 343i. Like, they actually continued. They finally, like, they continued their franchise very well. Like, yeah. Gears 4 and 5 are both really good games.
Because even if you prefer the original trilogy of Gears, you're not going to tell me 4 and 5 are bad games.
No.
Like, they're good.
They're good. I remember Ryan McCaffrey from IGN, when he reviewed Gears 4, he was trying to compare it to Force Awakens and being like, you're taking the old characters and passing the torch on to the new characters and, like, drawing that comparison. And moving on to 2022 in hindsight, it's like, yeah, that's a good comparison, except for one thing. The sequel trilogy crashed and burned like a bunch of stupid movies that they are, and Gears got so good.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Man. Yeah.
It was just a little fun thing that I thought about recently. I was like, man, sequel trilogy really sucked. Man, Gears did not suck. Good job, Gears.
Good job, Gears.
Good job, Gears. Man, Halo sucks now, too. Dang it.
Good job, Gears.
Good job, Gears.
It is actually kind of a compliment, though, in the age of the
backhanded compliment.
Reboots. The age of the crashing and burning reboots, to have a single game that even if it's not what you wanted it to live up to, it's still on that pedestal.
Oh yeah,
it's still fun.
Oh yeah, like
even if it didn't go exactly where you want, it's still fun.
Yeah, it did. It actually works, unlike what has happened to so many other franchises that have been taken over by new companies. Like, good job, Gears. Like, that's all there's.
On that
good
note,
job,
Microsoft
Gears.
On that note, Microsoft, not that you're listening, but maybe you should let 343 breathe like you let the Coalition breathe.
I know, right? Well, hey. They've had plenty of breathing room. They've been working on Halo Infinite for what, like 7 years, and it's still not full 1.0 release.
True that.
Give me a break. They had plenty of time. They had plenty of time.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah,
I turned into one of those Halo fans.
Yeah.
I loaded up CE the other day and I was like, it's so good.
It's so good. So good. I actually just finished playing CE the other day.
Oh, man.
So good.
I was playing the OG Xbox release of it.
Oh, the OG.
The OG on my RetroTink 5X. I made an appreciation post about it. And I was just like, dang, this holds up so well. It's so good. Oh, man. But, I mean, tying it back into the topic at hand, that's how Gears 1 is, too. Like, you go back and play it on original 360, back compat 360, or Ultimate Edition, it's like, yeah, it still holds up so well. Yeah. About the only thing that I would really complain about this game is its grenades. I don't like switching to a grenade weapon with a dedicated button and then having to throw it. I like Halo just throwing nades. Like, that's always been my preference. And
I think...
the splitting route mechanic where you divide the squad in two. I'm not always a big fan of that. Like, it works okay, but I'm just not the biggest fan of it. Yeah. I like having all 4 guys there and just going to town.
Yeah. I can see that.
I did enjoy though where like
you yeah, those moments though are actually really fun in co-op because it actually splits the co-op players.
Yes, it does.
So I think it's actually kind of fun in that regard where
it does.
Marcus goes through the sewers, Dom goes through the front door.
Yeah, true enough.
The 2 players kind of get different paths. And I think it also includes a little bit of replayability because then you can load up that same mission but take the other path. So I have to disagree with that personally.
True enough. That's fair. That's fair. But they also have the whole co-op campaign achievements for playing as Dom 2, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. Specifically for being player 2.
Being Dom!
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, the only, what was it? Outside of, like you said, grenades, I think the only actual thing that I don't like about it, and maybe it's only an issue because other games fixed it, but if 2 Lancers get in a chainsaw duel, one of the players just automatically wins outright instead of it turning into a duel. So I think that's one missed opportunity in the first Gears, but they fixed it 2 and up. And considering how good the rest of Gears 1 is, it's a niche complaint if anything.
Yeah.
And I guess on that, like kind of comparing it to past discussions of, does this game hold up? It absolutely does.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Even on the original hardware, it's like
100%.
Sure, yeah, it's like sure the textures might not be as high res as they could be, but if that's the only complaint you can levy against the game, that means everything else is at least good, if not great.
Yeah, and then
like the lighting engine is still good. The tone is still good. The story is still good. The controls are still good. Like. Like newer, it's in that weird. I don't want to say weird. It's in that perfect.
It's just an early gen game. It's just an early gen game. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. It's very zen. It hasn't aged today in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
It's just as playable today as it was back then.
Yeah, it had a perfect control scheme for what it set out to do, and that makes it very easy to go back and play it.
Yeah.
Like, go back and replay the original Resident Evils. Everyone complains about tank controls. It's like, we don't have to worry about that here. Like, it works. It works really well. Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing else.
I mean, not a lot of complaints here. Like, has Gears aged well? The answer is yes.
Yes, it has.
And you should play it. And if you don't like mature content, turn it off.
Turn it off. And if you just think it's a dude bro shooter, like, actually play it with an open mind and listen to the stories, listen to the, like, find the collectibles and read about them.
Yeah.
That's another thing that this game did well. It has collectibles, but not an overwhelming amount of them. There's only one per chapter, and it was nice and well done. It was fun to see that cog symbol up on the wall and know that there was a collectible nearby. Like, it was well done in that regard. Unlike, say, Halo 5, where you have 117 collectibles.
Of just miscellaneous audio recording from the guy that loaded a crate in the corner.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. On that note, on one final closing thought, now that you brought it up, the fact that people say it's a generic bro shooter is actually, I think, the perfect compliment. And it's that, like, if you've done a good job, no one will know you've done anything at all. It is the incarnation of that saying, because you can hate the lore, but still love it for a dude bro shooter.
Yeah,
you can go in it with 0 brain cells active, just shoot stuff, but if you look, there's a story there.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
And to me, that's the brilliance, the double brilliance of it. It is two play styles in one. You can go through it, stupid shooting everything, dude bro shooter. But if you want a little bit of story, it's there for you to find.
Yeah, it's definitely. So Gears of War 360, PC version of the 360 version, then the Ultimate Edition on Xbox One and PC, and by extension Series X and S. So a lot of ways to play it. It's on Game Pass. You can play it on PC or a console. I believe you could also stream it on Xbox Game Pass through cloud. I think I played through all of Chapter 3 that way. It worked really well, for me anyway. So lots of ways to still experience this game. It still holds up in any one of them. So I'd say, yeah, if you've never played this game, you should. You really should.
Yeah. You'll have fun going through it as a shooter. You'll have fun going through it for the lore.
And co-op. If you have a buddy, co-op.
Or
definitely.
Co-op is it's a great co-op game.
Good co-op game. Very good co-op game. But Zachary, thank you so much as always for joining me, my friend. It's great talking about Gears of War. I am so glad that I have given this franchise more of a shot in the last couple of years compared to when I originally played through it, because it was definitely just so much of a better experience because of it. Like, my gosh, it was so good.
Yeah. But it is so good. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. So we'll be back next month with some yet to be determined games. So stay tuned for that. Sub to the channel. Check out Zachary's work as well. So take it easy, everybody. We'll see you next time. Keep on gaming.